Today we're going to talk about one of the most, I think, underused timing techniques that astrology has given us, and that is called annual profections. This is such a powerful technique for you to use every year in your business, every birthday year, in fact, in your business. And you can find out in today's episode how to layer this timing technique with the other two timing techniques we've already talked about in this series to create your complete business timing system. So let's dive in. Welcome back to the business timing series. All right, so now we've covered transits and secondary progressions. Let's add one more layer, annual profections. Profections are an annual timing technique based on your birthday. Every year on your birthday, a new house in your chart is going to get activated. I have recorded other videos on annual profections if you want to go and check those out for a deeper understanding, but I'm going to summarize it for you today so we can work it all into the bigger picture of the timing system for your business. The house that's activated for your birthday year is going to show you the themes and focus areas of that year. So here's how it works. From birth to age 1, you're in a first house year. From age 1 to 2, you're in a second house year. From age 2 to 3, third house year, and so on. It cycles through all 12 houses. So by the time you're 12, you're back at the first house profection again. So it's a 12-year cycle. So how to figure out your profection year? You're best to use a profection wheel like this. That's how it's most easy for you to work out what year you're in based on your age. So for instance, if you are 12, you're in a first house year. If you're 24, you're in a first house year. If you're 36, you're in a first house year, because those are multiples of 12. If you are 48, you're in a first house year. Okay, and so you can look at the chart, the wheel, to find out where you are in that 12 house cycle. Profection simply means to move forward, right? So we're moving forward by a house every year. I'm not going to go deep into all of this because I have those other episodes on profections, which you can check out. But I do want to touch on one very important issue to do with timing for your business, your Time Lord. If you're a Doctor Who fan like me, no, it's not about that. But this is even cooler. It is the Lord for your year. So if you're in a second house year, a second house profection year, I should say, what sign is on your second house? And what planet rules that sign? That is your Time Lord. And we're going to pay special attention to that planet this birthday year for you. So let's say, for example, you are a Virgo rising. That means Virgo is your first house. And I just want to be clear here. I am using the whole sign house system. That's important. If you use a different system like Placidus or another quadrant-based system, that you come back to whole sign houses to understand annual profections better, because it kind of makes a lot more sense in whole sign houses. Going back to the example, let's say you're a Virgo rising. That means your first house is Virgo and the next whole sign is Libra. So the second house is a Libra house. And the ruler of Libra is Venus, the planet Venus, which means Venus is your Time Lord planet for the year, your Lord of the year. You are going to want to pay special attention to the astrological aspects that Venus makes or is involved in this birthday year. You'll want to know if it's going retrograde, that'll be important. When it's making its most productive or effective positive connections, for example, with Jupiter, and when it might be in trickier spots, for example, when it's in a difficult aspect with Saturn or Mars, or when it's in a sign that it is less, generally speaking, less effective in, like Virgo, or it could be in Aries or in Scorpio, which are also the signs that Venus is not her most comfortable in. So the most productive or positive times for Venus are probably going to be most helpful for you in your business when Venus is your Time Lord for the year. So I use this a lot for my clients when they're looking for windows to launch. So in addition to looking at positive aspects to their natal planets from transits, for example, and understanding their business season through secondary progressions, we also want to look at profections and their Time Lord. When are these little pockets of opportunity coming along from their Time Lord planet as well? So if you're in a Venus ruled birthday year, remember that annual profections is based on your birthday. It does not start from the start of the year. It starts from the date that you change ages, right? So I'm kind of lucky in this respect because my birthday is right at the end of a year. So I know that this entire year, calendar year, I'm going to be in, because of my age changed at the end of December. So now I know the rest of this year, I'm going to be in the same profection house year for the entire year. But you'll see on the chart, and you can easily just Google annual profection wheel, and you should get a Google image of the wheel to show you easily find your age and find the house that corresponds with that age. So if you're in this Venus ruled birthday year, you would probably want to know that there is a particularly juicy aspect between Venus and Jupiter in February, for example. And that could be really helpful for you to create something great for your business or to set things in motion in some positive way in your business. That's what I wanted to show you, that you really want to focus on. If you're working with profections, you really want to think about your Time Lord for the year. This is what's going to help us when it comes to your business timing system. So this is what I'm going to talk about now in terms of how to layer all the 3 techniques that we've been talking about in this series together. Transits, where the planets are in the sky, go time windows, secondary progressions, which are your 2 to 3 year internal seasons that are also playing out, and profections, your Time Lord, how it's impacting you. So let's layer them together. This is an example using my own chart. I have talked about this a few times during this series. My progressed moon is currently in the 12th house. It will move into my first house in May of 2026. So my progressed moon has been in my 12th house for the past 2+ years, which is a retreat phase, as I've explained in the progressions episode. In May, it moves into the first house, which is a fresh new start for me personally, potentially a boost in my identity, maybe my visibility, maybe my ability to show up more for my business and my brand. So my 2 to 3 year season internally is shifting from retreat to visibility later this year. And there will be more opportunities for me to be visible in the second half of this year. And that's how I'm thinking about the year ahead. I am doing some work now to set myself up for more visibility in the second half of 2026. Layering in the annual profection, I'm in a 7th house year. My 7th house is a Scorpio house. So traditionally, Scorpio is ruled by Mars, and I use the traditional rulers. And I recommend for annual profections that you do as well, because it is an ancient technique. It is not a modern technique. So it works best with the traditional rulerships. So Mars is my Time Lord for this year, this birthday year, which happens to be for me the calendar year as well. This means I'm going to look to the most positive and helpful aspects that Mars is making as my Time Lord. For example, I filmed most of this timing series while Mars was in Capricorn, because I knew I was going to have that little bit of extra support from Mars in its most productive position. So Mars really does well in Capricorn. So I knew I was going to get a little bit of a boost, and I certainly did record a lot more. I was able to get through a lot more work than I normally would in terms of recording these videos. So that worked out well for me. Then I'm going to want to consider transits. Where is Jupiter? As we talked about in the transits episode, where is Jupiter and where is it moving through my houses? Well, Jupiter is currently in the sign of Cancer until the middle of the year and is moving through my 3rd house of communication, and the house in business I call the house of email marketing in particular. It's going to make some strong aspects to my moon, my Mars, and Venus. So I'm looking at the timing of these aspects, particularly the Mars and Venus aspects, because Mars is my Time Lord for the year and Venus is my ruling planet as a Taurus rising. So I'm going to look to those particular transits in order to make productive moves in my business. So for instance, the Jupiter squaring my Mars, although a square is not usually considered to be it's considered to be an aspect of friction, this Jupiter square to my Mars could still be an opportunity to do something I've been afraid of doing, or to tackle a big work project that I've been putting off. So I would consider that. When is Mars, my Time Lord for the year, getting a transit from a helpful planet like Jupiter or Venus? And even if it's a square or an opposition, I can still work with that energy. So then there's a Jupiter trine to my natal Venus. That's another opportunity to potentially form a new business relationship, because my natal Venus is in my 7th house of partnerships. So there could be other ways to work with that. It could be a time that I attract new clients. Maybe there's an opportunity for me to attract new clients at that time. So I'd be thinking about what business activities I'm doing around that time to help me to attract new clients and work with that energy. So I can then plan my launches, my visibility, my big projects, even events that I'm planning to attend. Like there's an event, a business event that falls in that time. That could be really helpful for me if I'm looking to build more client relationships this year. Look at those windows. So here's how we use all three together. The progression tells me the season that I'm in. I am transitioning from retreat to visibility. I'm preparing now while I'm in the 12th house progression, where I've got the moon in the 12th house, and I'll lean into visibility once I hit that first house in May. As we talked about in the progressions episode, we're also thinking about the phase of the moon as well at this time. And for me, this is okay because I am in the building phase. I'm moving into the first quarter phase as well. So I'm also refining and streamlining the types of business activities I'm doing for visibility at this time. Then the annual profection and my Time Lord for the year tells me what my year is generally about. It is a 7th house year. It gives me a theme for the year. 7th house is all about partnerships. It is about contracts. It's about business relationships for business, right? If we're looking at this from a business lens, we're talking about collaborations, we're talking about clients, we're talking about business partnerships. So I know I'm going to be focusing on that in this birthday year, and Mars is going to be an important planet for me when it comes to those things. So then I'm going to look at the transits and see what Mars is doing and when I can work with that Mars to move things forward in my business. So in addition to the annual profection and the Time Lord of Mars, transits will also tell me when I have some visibility windows coming up or when I have some good opportunities to do certain things. For instance, I could plan a podcast relaunch. I could plan my website unveiling. I could plan my visibility pushes, maybe a program launch for those windows. As it turns out, I've already launched my podcast and my website for this year, but keeping in mind that my visibility season really starts in the second half of the year, I may have some other opportunities to work with that energy and a good position of Mars later in the year and good positions of other important planets in my chart. And we're not just talking about planets, we're also talking about the houses that are being activated throughout the year, as I explained in the transits episode. So there are these three beautiful layers that you can integrate to really work out, okay, what's the season I'm in? Who's my Time Lord, or what planet is my Time Lord for the year? And how can I work with that planet to kind of be more productive and be more effective in this birthday year? And then how can I use transits to find some windows and pockets of opportunity to launch, to put something out there, to plan and to do some content creation and that kind of thing? How can I work with these transits and what's happening for me across the 12 houses of my chart to make sure that I am having the most helpful interaction with the planets this year? Because ultimately things are going to be happening. There's going to be things happening all over the place. There's going to be things happening in the world. We cannot control what else is happening around us. All we can do is manage our own time and our own energy most effectively. And that's what I love that astrology can do for us. It can really help us to manage that. So let's wrap this up. Each of these techniques is going to give you a different piece of the puzzle. And when you put them all together, you get the complete picture. Now, there are many other timing techniques that you can use in astrology. These are just three of the key ones that I think are most helpful for you if you are starting to incorporate astrology into your business. So there is one thing I want you to take away from this series, and that is that you are not behind. You're exactly on time. You're just on your timeline, not someone else's. And that's really important to know in business. When you understand your timing, your progressions, your transits, your annual profections, you can stop forcing strategies and timing that doesn't fit your season. You can plan your launches around your high visibility windows. You can honor your retreat phases without guilt, and you can build a business that actually honors your capacity and your natural cycles. So if you want to map out your complete timing system and you want my help with this and to create a strategic plan for the year ahead, I would love to work with you. You can book a Cosmic Business Strategy session with me at sophiapalace.com/services. And in that session, we will look at where is your progressed moon and what season are you in, your upcoming transits and when your high visibility windows are, your perfection year, and what your focus is for the year. And we'll create a strategic plan that honors your timing and your capacity. I'm also going to drop the links to all 4 episodes in the description below. So if you want to share this with someone who needs to hear it, you can send them directly to the whole series. Thank you for being here. Thanks for watching or listening if you're listening on the podcast version. If this has been helpful, I would love it if you could like, subscribe, and share it with people you love and respect. And I will see you in the next one.